Alright, this is Mr. Drury again. Coach Naz is going to be out not this week, but at least today. I'm hoping she'll be back tomorrow. Today you're going to be doing the gallery walk of all the essays you wrote last week, which means you're going to walk into the hallway, look at your essays, and grade them. And you're going to grade them the same way Coach Naz and I grade essays, which is using something like this, an expository rubric. Rubric right up here. That's a word that means basically how we grade something like the standards. So you'll notice this has like a grid. It's a chart, obviously. Over here, the first area that we grade you on is organization and progression. Obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4 is your grading. We'll look over here at very limited. The organizing structure of the essay is inappropriate to the purpose or specific demands of the prompt. The writer uses organizational strategies that are only marginally suited, which basically means you don't understand what paragraphs are. You don't use them. You didn't really stick to the prompt, and it makes no sense. There's no, like, hey, this is our controlling idea and what we're talking about. Central idea and coherence is where it's going to talk about the controlling idea. Most ideas are generally related to the topic specified in the prompt, but the controlling idea is missing, unclear, or illogical. It's like they didn't understand what the prompt was, and they have a controlling idea that they tried to, and it doesn't work, or they have really weird logic, like ideas that don't support what they're trying to prove. You know, like the Finding Bigfoot guys on Animal Planet, or those ancient alien people. Their controlling ideas are insane. All right, progression of ideas and transitions. Basically, it shows that this is where people are just going to continue to repeat what their controlling idea is over and over again. Repetition or wordiness sometimes causes serious disruptions. You can see that there. At other times, the lack of transitions and sentence-to-sentence connections causes the writer to present ideas in a random or illogical way. If it's a basic one, organizational structure of the essay is evident but may not always be appropriate, meaning you tried to get some paragraphs in there, but it's still repetitive. Again, you're generally related to the topic. You don't have much of a controlling idea. You may have irrelevant information, stuff that's not important, or you just may repeat the same thing over and over again. And your ideas are not always logical and controlled. Your transitions are weak. Basically, a 2 is going to be like, hey, there's just not much transitions. Maybe there's one good body paragraph, but it's not that great as far as organization goes. All right, a 3, now we're getting people who understand organization. The essay is clear because the writer uses organizational strategies that are adequately suited. The writer establishes a clear controlling idea, and most of the ideas in the essay are related to that controlling idea. The writer's progression of ideas makes sense, and it's controlled, and it's meaningful, and it flows. The perfect paper, the 4, it's clear, it's appropriate, it's on task the whole time. It flows from paragraph to paragraph. That's your organizational stuff, but that's not all you grade on, because you come down here and you got development of ideas. This is where that's definitely, again, there's going to be repetition. Examples are not clear, or they don't really explain things, or there are no examples, and it's very vague. A 2, it's going to be, you're going to have some ideas. Maybe there's an example, but they don't explain it. Or maybe there's a claim, but there's no backing to it. There's not much thoughtfulness, and it's very formulaic, meaning you can tell they were following. It's the early type of essay y'all write. You clearly know that you should have paragraphs. You should have a thesis or controlling idea statement in that opening paragraph, and your 2 paragraphs should follow that opening statement, but you don't really develop it, and it doesn't make sense. A 3, it is developed. You give details and examples, maybe in a story, giving a backup to something. There may be an example of a time that this happened to a friend of yours, again, with a story. Or it may have some statistics in it, things like that. I swear I can say the word statistics. It's early. There's going to be some thoughtfulness, and the response to the prompt is original rather than formulaic, meaning possibly you thought of something no one else thought of. Whenever that happens, you have a tendency to jump from a 2 to a 3. 4, it's effective because the writer uses details and examples that are specific and well chosen. It's thoughtful and engaging. These are usually, a 4 is fun to read. The ideas make perfect sense, and when you're done, you're like, oh yeah, I agree with them. They explain that perfectly. All right, word choice and stuff down here. The writer's word choice may be vague. That's one. It reflects little or no awareness of expository purpose and does not establish a tone appropriate to the task. So you're going to get people who write like they're talking to a friend rather than write like they're talking to a teacher. Sentences are simplistic, awkward, or uncontrolled. Like they just don't seem to understand how sentences work. Writer has little or no command of sentence boundaries and age-appropriate spelling. Serious and persistent errors. Basically, to get a 1 based on grammar, it needs to almost read like the person's very vaguely aware of how English language works. So like somebody who just moved to our country might get a 1 on the essay. All right. Oh, we stay down there. Stupid me. All right. 2, you're going to get more basic sentences. Sentences are awkward and only somewhat controlled. You may get people who write completely in simple sentences, or you may get sentences that get messed up in the middle with way too many commas. And there will be some distracting errors. You can still get a 2 and have some pretty bad grammar. All right. 3, the writer's word choice is for the most part clear and specific. Now we have people who know what kind of words and what kind of audience to write for. Sentences are varied and adequately controlled. Not only do we have simple sentences, we have compound sentences, complex sentences, and possibly even compound complex sentences. The writer demonstrates adequate command of sentence boundaries and age-appropriate spelling, capitalization, punctuation. There are a few errors because nobody's perfect with a 3. With a 4, it's like you're reading an adult's writing almost. There are very few grammar errors. That doesn't mean that a 4 has no grammar errors in it. Sometimes that'll happen. But everything is going to be well done. A 4 is going to have sentences that you can see are written in such a way as to make the point stronger. You know, people who use those very short sentences after long sentences to really state a point very profoundly or just really set it off. So if you can tell they really thought about their sentences and really worked at their sentences, chances are it's a 4. Now when you're grading your essays in the hallway, I'm going to tell you pretty much the level most 7th graders and even pre-AP 7th graders write on. You guys are going to be around a 2 or a 3. Very few 4s are going to end up in that wall out there. 4s don't happen that often. 1s, you guys in pre-AP should not be writing 1s. There should be at least one good writer in your group that can get you up to a 2. All right? But you're going to hang out in the 2 to 3 area. That doesn't mean there's definitely not a 4 out there or definitely not a 1. If you see one, call them out on it. I'm going to give you a packet with this rubric on it. And I'm also going to give you a whole bunch of essays to practice grading at your tables. There will be a key at the very end to tell you what those essays got, but you want to be to the point where you all agree and understand why essays get the grades they get before you go out and take a look at those essays. And then as a group, probably during the second half of the second period of your class, you will go out with a sheet of paper and rate each essay out there and tell why in a few sentences you gave it what you gave it. You could say the grammar's bad, and their point is they repeat themselves over and over again, or whatever it is. Make sure you put what their topic was. They should have stated something pretty clear in the introduction to what their topic was. That's all I really need you to do. Be very good for the subs. Subs are usually not very comfortable with taking you into the hallway or even allowing you to talk at your desks. So make sure you're on task the whole time. If the sub gives you any problem, the sub won't give you any problem. If you give the sub any problem, then we'll just end up writing paragraphs. So make sure you're good today. All right. Thank you and goodbye.